with very relevant and eloquent introductory address. My first thanks go to Jagannath Bhavan, Museum and Resource Center, for making this event possible. Special thanks to Gautam Ghosh and Moina Bishash for agreeing to come today. Good evening, everybody. Distinguished scholars, teachers, friends, colleagues, students, acquaintances. I thank you all for coming, especially in this weather. Today I stand before you as a scholar and a citizen. I want to talk to you about a citizens project, the Kolkata Partition Museum project. And what I want to talk about is why KPMP, why do we need it, and what we are trying to do with it. There are 4 parts to my presentation, which I hope will not take more than 20 minutes. The first part, I want to talk about myself and my trajectory as a scholar and how I came to do what I'm doing right now. Second, I want to talk about the Amritsar Partition Museum because it is organically related to the project we are doing. Then I want to talk about the trust, the KPM Trust, and finally about our vision, mission, and our short and long-term goals. I'm a partition scholar. My field is literary studies. In my PhD, which I did in India with the help of 2 UGC fellowships, I explored the evolution of the trope of partition in English fiction of the subcontinent from the mid-50s to the late 80s. In my postdoc, I actually looked at partition fiction in Bangla, West Bengali fiction really, and this I did at Leiden. It was in a research institute affiliated to Leiden University. By then, I had already become a resident of the Netherlands. I started my career here in Bashudi Devi, not far from here, and I had left that job to join my husband in the Netherlands, and I stayed for 10 years, and I returned only in August 2017. Now, one of the biggest value additions in my life of living and traveling in Europe was museums. I absolutely gorged on them. I've always had an interest in museums, but it increased manifold living there. And it was in one of those museum visits that the idea of memorializing partition first came to my mind. It was my first visit to Berlin in 2007. It was a very short visit, and we had just had time to do a walking tour, one of those famous Berlin walks. And we did a historical tour, which took about 4.5 hours, and we were shown all the major landmarks of the city. And in some places, we were allowed to halt. Now, Holocaust Memorial, which is also called Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe, which was designed by Peter Eisenman, was one of the places that we halted. And I remember it was a very bright, sunny October day, but I walked through those various stelae of different sizes and shapes, and at one point I sat down because I was struck by 2 things. One was the enormity of the crime against the Jews, and was struck by it in a way I didn't have that feeling before. No film, no book had given me that feeling. And the other thought that came to my mind is, why on earth do we not have something like this in India for partition? It was 2007, it was the 60th year of Indian independence, and I knew that there were a lot of events happening in India, conferences, seminars, just like when India was celebrating the 50th anniversary. And I knew all that would happen after those conferences and seminars would be conference volumes, till we waited for the next event. So I thought about it, but I actually did not act on it immediately. I did my postdoc, I was very preoccupied with my personal life. Fast forward 9 years, 2016, that is when I concretely started thinking about something like this. And I was thinking of 2 things. I wanted to do 2 things. Number 1, I wanted to visit partitioned countries, other partitioned countries, because India is not the only one. I wanted to have a broader global perspective of the issue. I was very interested in understanding the specific memorialization practices which are involved in the making of these museums, so that I can get insights from them. Since I was placed in Europe, the 3 countries that I first thought about was Germany, Yugoslavia, and Ireland. And my first stop was Germany because I lived in Amsterdam and Berlin was closest to me. And I went on a study trip to Berlin for 3 days. The first day entirely was at Sachsenhausen, which is just outside of Berlin. And it happens to be the first concentration camp, as many of you know. In Berlin, I studied 3 museums, the Holocaust Memorial once again, Jewish Museum Berlin, which is actually an extension of an already existing museum, and the topography of terror. This is a vertical shot of the Garden of Exile in Jewish Museum Berlin. And I wrote a longish report about it in the online portal The Wire, and I'm not going to repeat all of that, what I saw and what I felt and what I liked. But what I do want to share with you is 3 takeaways from that visit. First thing I want to say is that those 3 days were a turning point in my life. Because if the 2007 Berlin visit was the first moment of inspiration for me, these 3 days were a turning point because they motivated me in a whole new way to pursue this project. And the 3 takeaways for me were that, number 1, for me the most important, they were all these 3 museums that I talked about. They were all citizen initiatives which were started after the fall of the Berlin Wall. And the citizens just didn't initiate, they were actually part of the entire process. They discussed and debated what kind of memorial they wanted to have, what exactly did they want to remember, and they engaged in the entire process. The second I felt was the Germans were being very courageous, I think, in confronting their recent past, painful, shameful past, and mind you, not just the victims, but also the perpetrators. And I realized then that, this entire project of remembering the past, memorializing the past for the sake of future generations, there's also another aspect to it, which is the present. Because when you own up, when you acknowledge inheritance of pain, that is also, I think, the first step towards healing. And the third was a very subjective response. I just felt, because the most striking features in those museums for me were basically installations and architecture. And I felt that probably architecture, installation, these things are probably far more powerful in conveying the unspeakable than, say, perhaps in literature. But that was a purely personal response to it. And I wanted to explore more of these in the other museums I thought I would visit. But unfortunately, we returned back to India and I couldn't do that. That project has been shelved. I hope to do it someday. What I could do was Partition conference in Kolkata in August 2017. It was a commemorative conference on the 70th year of partition, and the focus was on Bengal. That conference could not have happened without Professor Shekhar Bandyopadhyay and Dr. John Seengupta, my co-conveners. And I remember Shukriyadi and Moinath both had chaired 2 sessions in that conference. And it was in that conference that I first broached the idea of a museum, and ABP actually carried a report about it. After that, I presented in many places, Presidency, IIT Kharagpur, Ahmedabad University, the center, this very auditorium last year, also Bardhaman. But my chief energies were invested in meeting, talking to a wide cross-section of people and building support for the idea. However, I had a big homework to do, which was visit the Amritsar Museum. That was an absolute must for me. I obviously knew about it. It was initiated by Kishwar Desai in 2015 through a trust. They held 2 photographic exhibitions in Delhi in 2016. Later that year, they moved very fast actually. Later that year, they inaugurated the museum at the town hall, and in 2017 August, even as we were doing the conference here, it was open to the public. I visited the museum 4 months later. This is the only evidence that I was there, because they don't allow photographs inside. And it is a fabulous location. This entire eastern wing of the town hall, and which itself is located in the heritage district with the Golden Temple and Jallianwala Bagh with walking distance. Now, I had read a few reports in papers, but no report had really prepared me for the scale and size of the museum. 17,000 square feet, 17 galleries, 2 floors. It was like, wow. And I think it is a stupendous feat, all the more so because what they have done it in a very short time. And all that you can expect in a New Age museum, starting from the actual visualization of history, this Upper History Museum. So, the why, what, when, how of partition, also a bit of history of Punjab and Amritsar. 2 installations, there were quite a few. I like Thoa Khalsa the most. To artwork, there were many. Satish Gujral, Anjali Eleman, and many others, but I was particularly drawn to the sketches of S.L. Parasher. To archives, all kinds of archives, newspaper clippings, photographs, amazing collection of photographs by Margaret Bourke-White. Also, other resources. Now, their website cites LSE, London School of Economics, as their academic partner, but actually there I saw that a lot of the resources were also courtesy the Centre of South Asian Studies, Cambridge University. Some individual scholars were also specially mentioned, like Professor Ian Talbot of University of Southampton, who's a specialist in Punjab partition. Digital archives. Lots of oral stories archived there, some loaned from the Partition Archive of 1947. An interesting thing was that there was this video, a story by a Muslim gentleman, which was the Dinto story of trade to Pakistan. So I really knew where the stories of the novels came from. All of this was great, but, and this was a great but, where was Bengal? Bengal has three nodding mentions, inevitable nodding mentions. 1905 famine, 1943 famine, 1905 partition, 1943 famine, 1946 Great Calcutta killing. And after that, there's nothing. When you're going out at the fag end, when you actually go out, there is a confessional audio by Sucheta Kripadini, who was part of the Relief and Revalidation Ministry, which the government had formed, saying that we have not done enough for Bengal. 7 to 8 vast galleries, all taken up with the aftermath of partition in the Punjab. Not one of them mentioned Bengal. I found it not only amazing, but absurd. As if for 70 years, nothing had happened in Bengal. Now, as a partition scholar, I'm aware of this Punjab bias, and I kind of know why it happens. But I always knew Bengal needed a partition museum of its own. Now I'm absolutely sure it's confirmed. And partly because it's not just because of the lacuna in the Amritsar Museum, it's also because of other things. Because partition, the event, as well as its aftermath and afterlife, as we all know, as the topic we just mentioned, has been very different in Bengal than it has been in Punjab. In Punjab, it was a one-time event, two-way exodus, equation exchange of population, rigid border. Here the migration was primarily from east to west, and it continued because of the porous border, which remained porous. We have had successive waves of refugees, 40, 47, 50, 64, 71. And more importantly, another thing that, refugees were dispersed at disparate parts of the continent, unlike in Punjab. So you have them resettled outside of West Bengal in Assam, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Madhya Pradesh. Some were successful, like the Andamans. Some were a miserable failure, like Tottogaronno, from which refugees came back, and we all know what happened in Morichapi in 1977. But much before that, think of the Bangladesh War. India's intervention in that war directly affected West Bengal. Again, millions came pouring in. And there was a new refugee crisis before the old one could be contained. Even apart from war, things like, say, enclaves. As late as 2015, Bangladesh and Bengal has exchanged enclaves. Okay, so this entire story from 1905 to 2015, this entire trajectory is very different from the Punjab, and this is something that needs to be told, needs to be remembered, needs to be understood. And I think a museum is the only answer. Once I became convinced that what I was doing, I think I was on the right path. What I did was I furiously stepped up my legwork in the last year, and there was a lot of foundational steps to be taken. Number one, team to be formed, the trust, getting it registered, opening a bank account, having a website. More importantly, creating a wider circle of supporters and advisors who believed in this project and had faith in it. And here we are today. It took me a year to do all this, and I realized how long it takes to get born. I want to introduce you to the trust members. You already know Tapati here, what she brings to the table is not just her experience, a practice as art historian and teacher of history for decades, but also her experience as a director of a museum and resource center, because she has been director of this museum and resource center for many years. And so she has a very good understanding of the processes and especially challenges involved in a project like this. Jantu Shengbuktu actually has been with me the longest, since October 2016 when we were planning the partition conference. Amit Chaudhary wears many hats, internationally acclaimed English author, Indian classical singer. But the reason I approached him is because he's an urban activist who's initiated Calcutta Architectural Legacies. I really admire him for the work he's done in arousing interest in this and trying to preserve our heritage buildings. To professionals without whom this would not be possible. Big shout out to Ovijit Pathak. Ovijit, can you please raise your hand? Yes, of Mukherjee Vishwas Pathak. He's a wonderful ally and has boundless enthusiasm for this project. Nilina is a dream, Ain and Associates, corporate lawyer, who made the legal process very smooth for us. So we are now a trust, we are born, we have done all the foundational steps. Now what? So the ultimate aim for us is, of course, the museum, but before that there are many steps. But first I would like to talk to you about the main that we want to do. What is our vision? What are our main objectives? The first thing that we want to do is something I have already discussed a bit. It is, this project is dedicated to memorialize in the most comprehensive way possible the specificity of Bengal's partition. The specificity. Very few people know this outside of Bengal, and it's important that we remember. And second is, partition had two aspects to it. I am sure you'll all agree. One was rupture, one was continuity. Now the rupture part has been well documented in history writing, literature, cinema. But I think there are also, quiet continuities in Bengali life, and that needs to be emphasized too. In the form of, they are very vital things in our everyday life, like language, literature, food, fabric, the performing arts. That is something we would also like to emphasize, and we want collaboration with Bangladesh. And another important thing is that we actually want this project to be something in which the public can engage and participate, and we want to do whatever we want to do in interesting ways for them. The ultimate aim is, of course, the museum, but it takes time. Every museum in the world, whichever museum you can think of, usually starts with exhibitions in another museum. I just talked to you about the Amritsar Museum, which started with 2 exhibitions in Delhi. And even now they don't have actually a building of their own. They are located in the town hall. So that museum will take time to happen, but there are steps before that. Now, one of the first things we want to do is, of course, as warming up exercises to the inevitable, is have exhibitions. For that you need space. Where do you get the space? You'll be happy to know that there are 2 existing museums in Kolkata with whom we have had tentative talks, who can hire us exhibition space in the initial phase. We hope to finalize with at least one of them in the coming months. The exhibitions, we have actually, the trust members have been thinking about quite a few exhibition themes which are in consonant with our vision of the museum. And we've also actually been thinking of a film festival. Gautam sir here is pretty enthusiastic about that possibility. What the exact first event will be, or the first exhibition will be, we can share only later during the year. But it's something we are working on, and it's still at the brainstorming stage. Now you need money, most importantly. You need space, you need sponsors. This is a citizens' initiative, and we are very eager that other citizens come forward and support us. We have a website, which is the conduit through which a lot of things will happen. It is not only our online presence, it will not only give us an online presence, but we will do funding through it. Initially, money, but in the long run, also objects and other things. Now you can support the Kolkata Partition Museum Trust by giving cross checks. Shortly, we will also open up other options on the website. The exhibitions in the first few years that we are thinking of, they are, as I said, they are warming up exercises, they are dress rehearsals. For us, also for the public, for us, for strengthening, ourselves, for doing what we want to do eventually. For the public to try and understand better what we are trying to do, to engage with it. And it's also the time when the time that we can give ourselves to gather resources, in terms of objects, in terms of obviously money, but also other things. Because I remember when I visited the Amritsar Museum, they have done it very fast, and I asked how long. There was an education officer there, and I asked her, especially about the memorabilia relating to the lives of the refugees. She said it took about 2 to 3 years. That's the minimum that you need to have. Also, I'm frequently asked when when I talk among friends or to whom I try to pitch this idea, what is it that you're going to have in that museum? I think all the things that I told you in the Amritsar Museum, not that we're just copying it, but that is what these memorial projects do. You have all of that. You have visualization of history, you have installations, you have artwork, you have memorabilia, objects related to the life of the people and families who have been affected by partition. And by these families, I just don't mean families who were adversely affected, but also families who continue to have links across the border. So all of that, and digital media, now you of course know that digital media is just not audio and video, but also AR, which is augmented reality. A lot of things can be done with that. That is for much later, but initially, after this event, what we are going to concentrate on is our first event in the first 2 years, hopefully exhibitions. Thank you very much.